Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Anna. I am a portrait photographer in the Chicagoland area, and today I'm bringing back a couple of old friends and a couple of new friends. Dennis is a good friend of mine. He has been previously featured in a lot of my other YouTube videos that I have, as well as on my Instagram. So if you're interested in more of Dennis's work, I will be listing the videos that he's been featured in the description box below, as well as up here. Today we're going to be featuring a special guest. Her name is Mona. She is a fabulous model, and I will be listing all of her social media in the description box below, as well as up here for you to go and check her out. Dennis and I really wanted to go out and take some photos, and Mona just happened to have some time available for her to be our subject, so we took her to a local forest preserve that's pretty close to us. And since both Dennis and I were using completely different cameras and we both have completely different photography styles, I thought it would be a good challenge for us to see what we can do using the same exact model and the same exact location. For this photo challenge today, I decided to bring out the Sony A7iii. I have recently started developing skills using the Sony, and I am thinking of switching from a Canon. So if you are using a Sony at the moment, sort of let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, or if you're interested as a Canon user and wanted to switch to Sony, let me know in the comments below if you guys are interested in a video review. I will be using the Sony along with an 85mm lens to get more of a portrait style shoot, while Dennis will be using the Canon 6D with a 24-105mm lens because he is very interested in landscapes and wants to really incorporate those in his modeling photo shoots. To make this fair and for both Dennis and I to get the same amount of photos, I made sure that every time Dennis and I had moved Mona into a new location or into a new spot on the forest preserve, that we had about 10 minutes for each person to get their amount of photos. Once the photo shoot was over, it was time to open up Lightroom and begin editing. This is the photo that we're going to be editing today. You can see in the before portion that it is very bright, and I wanted to make sure that since the sun was going down that day, that I wanted to preserve a lot of the whites and the highlights to make sure that I can be editing those later in Lightroom. So the first thing that we're going to do is on the right hand side, you can see these little 3 lines. This is going to be the basic edits, and as you can see right here, I brought the temperature to a little bit warmer, and this is going to distort her skin just a little bit, which I will talk about later in this edit. So once we go into the light panel over here, you can see that I brought the exposure down just a little bit. I also wanted to increase the contrast because I really wanted to make sure that her curls are very defined, and as you can see here in the highlights, as I increase them, you can see that it gets really bright and it gets a little distracting, so bringing it down just a little bit makes it a little bit easier to see the subject. Another thing that I did was I also brought down the shadows. This sort of does a little similar effect as the contrast to really increase those curls. And like I had mentioned before, if you go into the color panel, you're really warming in the colors. And in the color mix, I brought down the greens just a little bit because they seemed to be just sort of a little more green than I had initially hoped, as you can see right here once I bring it back, and a little too distracting for my personal taste. So I went ahead and did that, and also in the yellow I also just brought down just a little bit just to give it a little more of a warmer tone. Now the last thing that I did, and like I mentioned before, when you do a basic edit all over a photo, it might distort the skin if it is a portrait. So what I did is I had just drawn over her skin and made sure that in the color panel I brought it down to a warmer temperature to combat the warmthness of the overall photo. And I had also just drawn a circle right over her, and if we double tap over here, you're going to see that it is affecting everything outside of this circle. So I had brought down the exposure just a little bit to be a little more of a selective edit and focus the vignette a little more onto the subject. A couple tips that I have for you if you are ever in a situation like a photo meetup or a wedding where there are more than one photographer there photographing a specific subject, it's best for you to make sure that you are being as respectful as possible and not covering up any moments for them to miss out on the opportunity that you had while you were taking those photos. If you ever run into a situation where you are not the only photographer there for an event such as a photo meetup or a wedding, it's best for you to make sure that you are not blocking anyone else's view so they get the same amount of opportunities that you did. I've had a couple situations in the past where I was a main photographer at a wedding and there was a couple of other hobby photographers there that were friends or family to the bride or the groom, and they wanted to get those photos, and sometimes they get into the way, especially if it's straight down the aisle. So the best thing that you can do is remember that you are being hired by this groom or the bride for the wedding, so you need to make sure that you're getting all of those photos that they would really enjoy. So sometimes you just have to politely excuse them and make sure that they're off to the side so that way you get the best shot. If you are in a photo meetup or you are in a similar situation like this where there are two photographers like Dennis and I, and we only have one subject, which is Mona, it's best to make sure that you are doing the best that you can. And if you ever run into any problems, the good thing is that you have another photographer along with you, and if they're nice and they're polite enough, they will help you figure out the settings, or if you're ever running into any issues with your camera, they'll be able to help you out. The last tip that I have for you is to always venture out in different types of people that you are photographing. I've run into a couple situations where there was a couple models that I had photographed, and them posting on their social media brought a couple of their followers onto mine, and this obviously broadens your audience and broadens possibly clients that could be interested in your work. So I always recommend to make sure that you are really trying to venture out and really trying to help out other artists such as yourself, because this will really allow those collaborations and those connections to happen. And that's the end of this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I post a new video. I want to thank Dennis again for collabing with me and being in another YouTube video of mine, as well as Mona being our amazing subject and our amazing model. And if you would like me to collaborate with Mona or with Dennis again, please let me know in the comments below. I also wanted to mention that the photos that I had taken that day was actually submitted to a magazine and accepted. So if you are interested in the magazine that I was featured in, it will also be listed in the description box below. If you guys are interested in videos similar to this, I have a playlist created which will be in the description box below, as well as somewhere up here. If you're also interested in travel videos where you can travel the world with me and see what I do in my free time, it will be listed in the description box below. But that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I will see you guys in the next video.